congratulations on your admit.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So was this the intended result?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody who's applying to B schools want to get into them. So, yeah.
So when did you decide that you wanted to do an MBA?
Quite early actually. Probably because it's the decided path after BBA, as many people say.
Right.
But I was pretty sure that I wanted to go into marketing from an early stage. So it's after my first year, after a few marketing subjects, I had decided what specialization I want to go with. So then I decided to do an MBA, and in fact, my sister is a graduate from the same B school I just got into. So she told me about the entire program, that there is a program called Young Leaders Program, and you should definitely try it out.
Great, great. So when you decided to apply, to university, so what brought you to Jamboree? Where did you find us?
So I remember that there was this webinar back at school for for preparing for GMAT for students who want to go abroad and stuff like that. So I remember seeing Jamboree since then, and it's very close to my house. So whenever I'm coming back by road, entering my colony, I see their center. So as soon as I decided that I want to prepare for GMAT, I went for self-prep. But then when I realized that I need a coaching to better prepare for the exam, that was the first thing that popped into my mind.
So which Jamboree center did you take your classes in?
This is the Achini Center.
Oh, right, Achini Center.
Yeah.
So you say that you first tried self-preparation. Did you take the GMAT also after preparing on your own?
Yeah, I took 2 attempts to GMAT. Surprisingly, my second attempt was lower than my first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what is your first attempt score?
My first attempt score was a 620.
And the second one was lower?
Yeah, second drop.
Right. So, and you came to Jamboree after your first attempt or second attempt?
After my second attempt.
Okay. And when you started the GMAT prep, and obviously you were not a novice, you already knew what a GMAT was like, and also, but where did you find the difference was, self-learning versus, coming to Jamboree, for instance?
Yeah, so I think the major difference over here was when it comes to personalization. So for self-prep programs, there are either books that you go with, or there are either online courses, which have a really good way to go about it. But then when it comes to doubt solving or doubt clearing, there's nobody to really help you out there. So I think one major factor was that. The second thing was that I exhausted my official questions quite early in the prep because I did not know that I had to, pace it out with other questions. And whenever I used to get this advice from other people who've taken the GMAT that you should practice other questions, I didn't really know where to go. So I think that's how coaching would also help me provide with proper materials.
Right. So how many months or how many weeks did you prepare with Jamboree? What program did you go for?
I went to so since I'd already taken the GMAT and I was fairly good at quant, I required help with verbal mainly. So I went with their weekday batch itself. Because classes were online, like my college was online, but Jamboree had just started taking offline classes.
Right.
And there was an entire COVID scare going on during that time. So luckily, I had only like 3 to 4 people in that batch. So I could also concentrate better.
Right. And after your classes, got over, then, for a post class, how much of the Jamboree portal did you use in your preparation?
So since I knew a lot about GMAT already, so I skipped the videos because I felt that those were some basic level videos that I had already covered in classes. What I instead of that, what I did actually was I contacted the in charge of the center over there at that time and asked them if I could attend a few classes related to particular topics online, which were going on. So if there was a chapter that I wanted to revise, I used to do that instead of look at the portal because I felt that I can get my doubts cleared on the spot. Apart from that, I solved all the question banks that were there in the portal. So all the 700 plus level questions, all the mixed bag questions, and all the mock tests.
And what was your final score?
My final score was a 690.
All right. So, so you went up by like as compared to your lowest score. So you went up by almost 100 points, right?
I went up by 120 points.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's a story in itself.
Which I had to change. So I think I went from a 21 as my lowest verbal score
Oh,
to a 38 in my final attempt.
that's 17-point jump.
Yeah.
So what things did you do differently, from between your, to reach to the 690?
Yeah.
What things did you do differently?
So honestly, the number one thing was to calm myself down, because that was very important. There reached a point that now that I had taken 3 GMAT attempts, my 4th GMAT attempt didn't really scare me anymore. So it was genuinely like a mock test at that point. Yeah. And apart from that, the things that basically I had to change was I had to forget what I had learned for verbal, uh, because there are only fixed ways that you can go about solving a particular question. And I forgot what I had already learned. I sat down with my teacher. I remember I used to take extra classes even after that. So I used to ask her which days she is free on. And I used to come to the center since it was only walking distance. And I remember I used to sit with the official guide and I used to mark questions over there, which she used to then tell me different approaches to solve it. Because earlier I was looking at the answers given at the back of the GMAT official guide, uh, which weren't very satisfactory. And ma'am used to tell me these particular tips and tricks to solve these questions, that as soon as you see this word or this comma in this sentence, it's wrong. So you should eliminate that particular question. So I used to always take the long way of solving a question instead of the shorter way.
Yeah, GMAT is actually not so much about knowledge than, time management.
Yeah. Another thing that I did was she had asked me to spend a lot of time in one particular question, finding alternate ways to solve that. So initially, I found that a little weird. I was like, why is ma'am asking me to solve one question in 3 different ways if I've already gotten the answer? But then I realized that one question was helping me cover up 3 or 4 different concepts at one go. So that also helped me a lot.
So if you have to pick the top 2-3 things that you liked about your GMAT prep with Jamboree, or that you found different, what would those top 2-3 things be?
Okay, so the number one was the way quant was taught to us. There was this handout in class that we had to do with our teacher, with our faculty. She used to teach us the topics and the concepts. Then we used to solve those questions in class, where she used to tell us different ways of solving those questions. And then we had homework in that same basic level book that we had to complete. After we were done, then we moved on to the 700 level questions. So I think that entire flow of quant, which was required, was very good with Jamboree. The second thing was definitely the quality of the questions. So I noticed that as soon as you went from the basic book to the 700 level book, there was a huge jump, and it did basically take a toll on me. But there were really good quality questions. It helped clear a lot of my concepts. After finishing those 4 to 5 questions related to one particular topic, um, I was well versed with that topic. And they make sure that you don't run out of questions to solve, because there are also extra 700 level plus questions. So you can just keep going on and on with those. So I think those are the top things. One more thing I'd like to add here is the flexibility. Um, as whenever I used to miss classes, or I thought that I'm done with my classes and I won't be able to get a recap of that, I was told that I can attend those classes online as well, and sort of attend one topic 2 3 times until and unless it's like drilled into my head. So I think that was a really good thing about Jamboree.
So once you were done with the GMAT, then of course at the application stage, so why did you decide to take Jamboree's help right away?
For ISB.
Yep, yes.
Yeah, so I had already started doing a lot of research about Jamboree as soon as I'd taken the GMAT classes. And I saw that they had like a good review or a good conversion rate with YLP students, or ISB students in general. So I just decided to go with that. Plus, being at one place for all your needs, I thought was a little more convenient than going to different.
And what was your experience with the admissions team?
The experience was really good. So whenever I was given this mail where I had these timings as to when I can contact my counselor and my teacher for the essay writing.
Mhm.
And I used to contact them within those time or days, and they used to always reply. They used to always come back to me with suggestions. So it was a really good experience.
So when you were brainstorming about your applications, about your essays, particularly,
Yeah,
so what
yeah.
kind of inputs did you get, which you now feel, looking back, that which probably added much more to your applications, or which probably you would not have been able to come up on your own? Were there any such moments?
So for me, I believe that I had a more conservative approach towards essays, unlike many people who actually like to write a lot in their essays. So I had a lot of doubts if I should mention this topic or that topic, or if I should write that my end goal is to become so and so, right? I thought that I have to start with the basic level, and later on, I was told by my teacher that you need to aim for the sky because they're not looking to take somebody who has his aim only as a mid or a senior manager level. They're looking for someone who has ambitions and who wants to go ahead. And when it came to different topics of brainstorming, initially I found myself thinking of topics that are very common, which might take a lot of toll on you, right? So there might be an essay on challenges. Now that might be a challenge to you, but that is someone that everyone of your age is having to go through.
Right, right.
So you're not really doing anything different, or you're not really going, ahead of them to do something or accomplish something. So you really need to think of things that are specifically unique to you. So I think I started with writing things about how difficult it was for me to shift to a new city for my college, and build up my personality there. But that's something that a lot of people are doing.
Right,
So I
right.
had to think of specific things which were personalized to me.
So if you have to give any tips to other students who are thinking of preparing for their GMAT, who want to apply to universities, so what would be some of the tips?
So I know it's easier said than done, but you need to be calm, right? One thing that I was doing, and I'm a bit of an overthinker, I went ahead and I started, thinking about, oh my God, I need to give the GMAT in 3 days, in 3 days, in 3 months, in 5 months, and I tried to plan out each and every step till that point. My exam deadline is this, or my essay deadline is this. I used to keep thinking as to what's the perfect move that I can make to put myself in the best position out there. But to be honest, there isn't a perfect move. There isn't something that you can decide on day one and that pan out on, let's say, 3 months after you've decided to do that. I took my last GMAT attempt 2 days before my ISB deadline. So as
Oh,
much as I wanted to finish it 4 or 5 months before, it wouldn't happen. Um, and you would always actually want to do better, right? So I'd say set goals, set early goals so that you have enough time to work on it again just in case it doesn't go right. But don't set early goals just for the sake of it. And even if you're a few months away from the deadlines, even if you have 2 months to prepare for GMAT or 1 month to prepare for GMAT, just don't give up right there. Do whatever you can and at least give it an attempt. Go ahead with it. Second, you might feel that your profile isn't good enough for these top B schools, but that's not always the case. So for me, I have a basic profile. I did do well, like decently well in my 10th, 12th. I did do decently well in my college as well. Um, I had one or two position of responsibilities, and then that's it. Right, I had a few extracurricular activities. I was above average with my academics, which honestly more than 60-70% of the people are. They are good at that. People do get into clubs, at least one or two clubs, right? So you might think that you don't have anything extraordinary in your profile, but it honestly just matters in the way you write it or you type it up. If you make it sound like you've done something significant, then you've done something significant for the admission committee. If you've worked on a fest, or if you led a team, then that is important, even if it's at a lower scale. That is important to the admission committee. You're still in your college. I was still in my college. I just graduated. They're not expecting you to do things that a manager must have done in his life up until now. They know that you're a fresher. They know that you're just 20, 21 years old. They do not expect you to do great things. So just go ahead with your profile and it'll all pan out the way you want.
By the way, you are very articulate, and I think that helps at the interview stage. So you may be just 20, 21 years old, but you are able
Yeah.
to put across your point in a very articulate manner. I don't have any follow-up questions, so to say. So I think
Thank
that
you
is
so
one
much.
thing that students leave till the last moment. They start
Yeah.
like working on their communication skills or interviewing skills
Yeah.
only after they get their interview call, and that is not enough. So it's
Yeah.
very important, to be able to speak your mind in a, like, in a, what you can say, in a fluent manner, plus
Yeah.
in a coherent manner. One point, first point, second point. So I mean, you may feel that your profile is, as you said, nothing extraordinary, but the fact that you are able to put across your points in a convincing, coherent manner, that itself is a big plus.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. So, any feedback for your admissions counselor, faculty, anything that I can give them?
No major feedback. It's just that I know it gets tough with verbal, but if like the kind of approach that you have with quant, if you can do a similar thing with verbal, I think it'll be like easier for people to comprehend. Otherwise, I think everything was pretty good, to be honest. Like honestly, you can't expect your counselors to spoon feed you. So, people might not expect that, but yeah, they're there to help you, or they're there to answer your queries. And even if any person is like telling you that you may not be able to get through, that's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So
of course.
yeah, I don't really have much feedback to give there. Everybody was pretty active with the profile.
Thank you so much, Avichal. It was thank you for taking out the time to speak to us.
No worries. Thank you so much.